Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. If you will enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments to help me boost this video. Thanks. Story 1. Putting the fowl in Waterfall. I run a small B&B close to a national park with mountains, hills, and forests. A vast majority of our guests are lovely if a little boring for this particular subreddit. Here's a little gem that happened this weekend, though. Let me introduce you to the girls as they call themselves, all caps. Let's call them Mel, Liz, Laura, and Cease, all in their 50s and on a little getaway from their husbands and teenage kids. They came in on Friday around 4 p.m., and after sitting down with me for check-in and our little welcome to our B, and B this is the common rune, feel free to use it at any time spiel, they immediately brought out several bottles of rose cava, not without offering me to join them for a glass or 3. Having a few more check-ins, I politely declined. Boo enjoyed seeing them getting ever merrier, and even drawing another 2 women into their card games at the fireplace. Loud and motherly, Mel is the self-appointed ringleader, and loves drawing everyone around her into conversation. According to her, she loves hiking a lot, and food even more, hence my figure which, granted, is a bit stocky. Her brown eyes framed by dark, graying curls, and the hard-to-miss bright red spectacles have deep laughing lines around them. The girls are well equipped for a long weekend on the trails. High-end, well-worn hiking boots, sustainable outdoor wear in line with Cease's faded Greenpeace shirt from the 90 seconds and Laura's vegan option for breakfast, and sensible layers for the unpredictable weather this time of year. Finally, some guests I don't have to worry about sending out into nature. The next day say at breakfast, I recommend them my favorite hiking trail, out the door, up and around the hill with sweeping views of the forests and mountains. On the way back, following a stream to a beautiful, mirror-like lake. Along the outlet on a bit of an advanced trail to a slightly hidden, cute little waterfall, and back through the forest. All in all, it should take around 4 hours, 5 with breaks. Plenty of time between their start around 11 a.m. and their bookings at the restaurant next door at 6, and the sauna for 8 p.m. 3:15 p.m. I'm in the garden pruning some plants for spring when my phone rings. It's Cease. Hey, I'm really sorry to bother you, but Mel fell into the water. She is kind of wet. Muffled sounds. Mel comes on the phone, laughing, a good sign. Yeah, I did a typical Mel. Listen, I can't seem to walk well. Is there any way your partner could come and pick me up? We're at the waterfall. Why, my partner Chris. He is active with the hiking club, and as a trail maintenance volunteer, has permission to drive the car on the forestry trails. Worried, I tell them to wait at the lake closest pickup point he can drive to, and pry Chris away from ironing next week's laundry for the B and B. I can't go with him, the car's a 5-seater, and there are 4 girls, but here is what he later told me. Arriving at the lake, he walked towards the waterfall, and found the 4 of them in good spirits, albeit a bit cold, with not 1, but 2 of them sopping wet, Mel and Liz. After some deliberation, he led Mel and Liz to the car, put a tarp on the back seats, and drove them home. Apparently, Mel insisted that Laura and Cease finish the beautiful walk for all of us, which they did. Back here, I received them with fresh towels, and was worried to see that Mel wasn't just wet, but also limping. I offered to call emergency services. Our country has good health insurance, but she declined with one of her typical laughs, and opted for a shower instead. Assisted by Liz, she limped off to their apartment, the 2 of them leaving a trail of water and mud all the way to their door, which, I should add, Liz offered to clean up herself. Chris, my sweet guy with a mop already in hand, wouldn't hear of it. An hour later, after Laura and Cease had also returned and showered, the girls were back in the common room and opting for the mulled wine I offered them after the cold dip they had. This time of year, the mountain streams are barely over freezing temps after all. Finally, I got to hear the whole story. Apparently, Mel did a real classic. Posing for a photo in front of the waterfall, she slipped and fell backwards into the water. Luckily, it was a stream and not a ravine. With the stream bed being muddy, as well as rocky, Liz had to half jump in herself to help Mel, who had lost her balance completely and apparently twisted her knee in the process. She got lucky not to hit her head, though, and is in good spirits. Laughingly, they show me the before and after photos. Liz and Nell posing sopping wet and covered in mud, but clearly laughing in front of the waterfall. After having a good dinner next door and apparently befriending the owners, the girls spent an hour in our sauna before opting for an early night. This morning, after breakfast, it was time for checkout. I was glad to see that Mel was doing much better, but wearing pajama pants at breakfast. She explained why, too, not that I asked, but she loves occasionally oversharing. Apparently she chafed her legs badly while walking back from the waterfall to the lake in her wet pants, and the only thing she could bear wearing this morning were her PJs. At least the knee is doing much better after the sauna, apparently. While checking out, they made their next booking for a long weekend in June. Have to finish that hike, after all. How to love the girls. Story 2. Couple decided to steal a deed parking space. I work at a place with a deeded garage parking. Had one sweet old lady, I'll call her Granny, who owned a Mini Cooper. Another couple who rented a unit did not have a parking spot and took to planting their economy car in her spot. When Granny complained, the renters would just say they were entitled because there were so many empty parking places, so Granny could park somewhere else. What the heck do they not get about deeded parking? This continued until the day the sweet old lady decided to be not so sweet. Pulled her car in front of the two renters' car and parked bumper to bumper. Put a note on their car saying parking in this space is $150 a day. Please leave a check with the concierge. So the two grifters renters showed up at my desk bitching about their car being blocked off and actually expected me to tow Granny's car off. I had to re-explain that deeded parking meant that I could not tow a car from Granny's spot any more than I could rearrange furniture in her apartment. It's her land. She owns it. You abandoned your car on her property. Talk to Granny. So after 20 minutes or so of the grifters renters bitching, I called Granny, even though it was early in the morning. She came down to the desk in her house coat and slippers with her dog in tow. They begged her to move her car. Granny told them it would be $150 bucks. Leave the check with the concierge. They kept bitching. And she told them it would be an extra $50 for waking her up in the morning cause they claimed an emergency. And they asked her how long before she left the garage. Granny told them, dearies, I'm retired. I'll leave my spot when I'm ready. And the price just went up to $150 a day, plus $50 for waking me, and that will be in cash. Leave the envelope with the concierge. I'm walking my dog, and I'll move my car when I have your rental fee in hand. Not only did the renters not park in her spot, but word got around, and I didn't have to deal with that issue for another 2 years. Story 3. Fussy guest demands discount for lack of parking. I maliciously comply. On sold-out weekends, our already limited parking becomes even more limited. Hest and her husband arrive early evening. Car park is already full, so they park in front of the front door to check in, blocking other vehicles in. Check-in is non-eventful. I rattle of my spiel and hand the guest her keys. Hest walks off, then stops all of a sudden. As she turns to face me again, I know that she is about to complain about something. We all know the pose. Eyes widen as they ready themselves to plead their case as the point, and wiggle their index finger in the air at shoulder height. Hey man, Hest, you need more parking spots. There is not enough for 40 rooms. Your car park is already full. I reserved a space. I'm sorry, ma'am, but our parking is on a first-come, first-served basis. We do not reserve spaces. If the car park is full, all of the on-street parking is free. There should be 40 spaces for all 40 rooms. Side note, we have 12 spaces at the front of our property, which stretches from the street to our front entrance. Local council regulations state that we only need 1 space per 4 rooms. We beat those regs by 2. I understand your frustrations, Mrs. Nitpicker, but our plans to construct an underground parking garage has been delayed due to the COVID-induced shovel shortage. Not a shovel to be found within 100 kms. It should be dug out and fully operational by the time our city hosts the Olympics in 2032, though. You should extend your car park until then so every 1 room has an assigned space. I think we should be given a discount for no parking. The owner did consider just knocking this place down completely and making it into a public car park, But then he realized that we would have no rooms left for our guests, which would lower our property rating. So we decided to keep things as they are for the time being. Her and the discount I asked for. I type away furiously, whilst umming and ahhing for dramatic effect. I have applied the discount to your folio. I have calculated the total amount it will cost you to park on the street for your 7-day stay, and have deducted that amount from your bill. Is there anything else I can help you with, ma'am? Her huffs and gives me a smug smile. Well, I should think so. Hist walks off. As I stated earlier, street parking is free 24/7. Her total discount was $0. She never noticed. Story 4. Anne was upset he had to wait 5 minutes for valet. Asked me to cancel his reservation, which I did. To say he didn't expect that was the least that happened. So I worked the night audit shift, 11 p.m., 7 a.m. This is one of my favorite stories because the karmic justice was hilarious at the end. I deal with a batshit amount of problems because I work at a 4-star luxury hotel that is also in the middle of a downtown city and connected to a convention center. I literally deal with everyone, from the homeless to celebrities. This isn't my craziest story, but the funniest when it comes to instant karma. So most of my problems usually happen right at the beginning of my shift. It's when late check-ins start finishing up, but only with the drunk and the rowdy and the occasional late flight. This man was of the drunk and rowdy nature. He was middle-aged, looked like your typical Marvel fan from the shorts, the shirt, the beard, and the glasses. Reeked of neckbeard. We all know the type. I'm a nerd too, but the kind that showers and has friends and boundaries. I don't work alone, but was alone at the front desk 26 Fahrenheit, and he comes up to complain. He is checking in and stating valet wasn't there, and he has been waiting 20 minutes. I call valet and find out he has only been waiting 5. And assure him they are finishing up with a couple guests, and will park his car. He would not let it go. He starts going on a rant about my terrible customer service, how there has to be something I should do for him to make up for this, how completely unacceptable he had to wait at all at a luxury hotel for the valet, and thought that was the whole point of us being luxury. Clearly hasn't been to a hotel in general, never mind a nice one. I told him I talked to the valet, and it's normal for people to have to wait for others who were there first. There was nothing I could do. It wasn't even an amount of time that I could fake being sympathetic for. He was clearly just being an ass. He then keeps demanding an explanation from me as to why he was waiting, now trying to tell me I am lying to him, and they were clearly sleeping or on break. He then tells me to just cancel his reservation. I said okay, the valet was ready for you, but if this isn't what you wanted, I will go ahead and cancel. So I do, and hand him the printed cancellation. Still won't leave. Now he's standing at the front desk staring me down, and repeatedly asking me why he had to wait for valet, and to admit they were sleeping. I tell him he no longer has a reservation with us, and I will call security to escort him out as he is no longer a guest. He says fine, so I call security, and he still won't leave. Starts yelling at them that he won't leave unless we call the cops. Then literally asked us to call the cops on him. He then looked at me and was like, "You're not gonna win this," me not even knowing there was something to win here. So cops get there. They come up to me just to ask what's going on and feel bad cause they know the dude is just being a dick. I tell him he literally told us to call the cops to make him leave. Cops go deal with him. They tell him not only are we not reinstating his reservation, which I guess he was trying to get them to do, but he had to call an Uber home and had to abandon his car at the hotel because he was too drunk to drive. The cops literally made him call the Uber in front of them and get into it and watch him leave. So this dude clearly had some sort of power struggle thing going on, or rough shit at home. I can frankly don't care. He thought he could just pick on some random hotel worker, and instead got the biggest walk of shame I have seen, and also had to pay for an Uber, a cancellation fee, and God knows what else to get his car back. All to just be a smug dick. It was great. Now I just wish all the assholes got a police escort lol. Story 5. Prospective hotel guests. The correct answer is I'm looking for a room, arriving on this date, and leaving on that date. Thank you for calling generic hotel name. How can I help you? Yes, we've been coming to your town for years now. Oh, what is it? 0.12 years. No, probably longer than that gosh, has it been 20 years? No mind. Anyway, oh wait, it's been 16 years since we first came to your town. My husband and he passed on in 2015, but we used to try to come every year or two. I've come down a few times since his passing. Sometimes I'll have my daughter, but she's in Europe right now. When we first took her, she was my baby, but now she's in Europe with her friend. She'll always be my baby, though, even when she has her own babies. If she wants them, she's not sure right now. I told her to take her time, but not too much time. Ha ha ha. Anyway, my husband and I would go to the restaurant. They're around the corner from you. They had the best applesauce, and now they're closed. So I guess I'll have to figure out a new favorite spot. You know, we used to work with last front desk manager, but they left a few years ago. Oh, but it doesn't matter. You all have always been so helpful when we needed anything. It's harder and harder for businesses to retain staff these days, isn't it? But that's the world we're in. Things are just changing so fast, it's hard to keep up. I'm just so glad that you guys are still in business there. It's hard these days, isn't it? Even for places that people love. And then with COVID and inflation, I don't know how some places keep going on, and it's going to be difficult to replace some of the businesses that have had to close down. Sometimes it's not even the business, but staffing. It seems like with all the job openings out there, there wouldn't be so many staff shortages, but that's just how things go sometimes. We like to go in spring to see all the flowers blooming. Summer is just too hot for us there, so we always figured why go if we would be trapped inside due to the heat, you know. I guess winter is pretty nice there, fall too, but usually we would go in the spring. Sometimes it's rained on us there, but we never minded getting a little wet if we forgot our umbrellas. Anyway, I'll be coming there by myself this year, and I'm hoping to take a day trip to famous landmark nearby. I'd been there once before, but it was one of our first trips there. Oh, what was that? 0.2000. No, that's too early. It must have been later on in maybe 2009 or 10. Haha, that was the year that event happened in town. And you know, it is so funny, but we went to that. And it was supposed to be X and Y, but we just had to chuckle because it seemed like Z. I heard they haven't done that event due to COVID. It's just so sad. Well, like I said, it's just me coming up this year. I don't think my daughter is going to fly back from Europe for this trip. Ha ha ha. So I just need one bed, and was thinking maybe one of the smaller rooms would be fine for me. My husband and I would always get a little bit larger room. He was 6'3", so the smaller rooms were a bit too tight for us. Of course, if my daughter came, we would need 2 beds, but maybe next year I can talk her into it. We'll see. I don't need the 2 beds this year. I'm used to sleeping in a king-size bed, but a queen would be okay if it were the right kind of room for me. I just need a little bit of room to walk around and a chair. I wouldn't want to take a larger room away from a family that may need it, because I know how difficult it can be traveling with kids. We would sometimes have issues when Susan, our daughter, was growing up, and that was just one kid, and the 2 of us. I can't imagine how parents with 3 or 4 kids makes it work, especially these days. It has to be so stressful and just difficult to manage. And it's hard to travel when the kids are in school, isn't it? So, again, it's just me coming this year, and I'd like to see what you have for me this year. Loosening the noose I was putting around my neck. When were you wanting to arrive? Tomorrow. We're sold out tonight. Oh, I was looking for tomorrow. Yes, but we started this conversation yesterday. Story 6. Please, for guests who don't understand how hotels work. A couple of nights ago, I had a late-night call from a lady and partner who were traveling across the Midwest states by car. They seriously underestimated the distance between towns, cities, and after a very long day of driving, called my hotel to ask about availability. Because it was after 2 a.m., I with great trepidation quoted the rates and carefully explained that the room would be theirs until 11 a.m. today, so about 8 HRS. At this point, I moved the phone slightly away from my ear and mentally prepared for the wailing and gnashing of teeth to come. It didn't. Very nice, lady said. That's okay. We just need a couple hours of sleep. It's our fault for not planning our route better. I experienced shock, and no screaming fits, no cursing, not even the vaguest suggestion of wanting to call a manager. They arrived about 10 minutes later, walked in with smiling faces, something seldom seen in this circumstance, ID and CC in hand. I took a moment to decide that no, this was not me having a stroke or fever dream. These people were actually real. I immediately upgraded them to the nicest available room, gave them a 15% discount off the price of the standard room, and quietly mentioned that I might have forgotten to lock the pool hot tub area, and that for the next few hours would be far too busy to monitor the pool area cameras. Nice lady's eyes widened as she signed the reg card saying, "But this says we're in a family suite, and it's less money than you quoted on the phone." I simply smiled, handed her the keys, and asked if she needed extra towels, as the pool towels had been taken away to laundry, so there weren't any available in pool area. Now the PS. Hey, if you ask politely, communicate what type of room you want. Calmly provide us with any special requests. High floor, add. 8 pet room, or whatever you think you want. Need without making us beg repeatedly for this info. If you ask instead of demanding. If you refrain from shouting, stomping your feet, or otherwise being a total douche canoe. If you provide your payment method, an ID without us having to forcibly wrestle you to the ground and pry your wallet out of your cold dead hand. If you refrain from asking the N. If you woke them up, no, you did not wake us up, but you most assuredly pissed us off. If you follow my recommendations, then you will soon discover the amazing magical powers that all FDAS wield, and double that for the mighty powers of the N, a person. Basically, don't be a jerk, and we won't treat you like a jerk. One last thing. Hotel days are not the same as calendar days. For explanation, see the thousands of other posts on this sub explaining about rolling the date and check-in out times.